Hi guys, this is Liz Kaneda from Sleek Lens. Today I'm going to be working with the Grayscale Essentials Workflow, and I'm going to be showing you guys what tools you can use in that workflow to add light and dark to your photograph to really enhance your black and white photographs. So right now I have a color photograph up and I've already went ahead and I converted it to black and white. So sometimes you're going to want to make your photos black and white, and what happens often is you've added a black and white filter or you've switched it to black and white and it falls kind of flat or it blends in and the subjects in the photograph no longer really pop out. So we're going to talk about using certain tools in the Grayscale Essentials workflow to kind of enhance those photographs. So I've converted this one to black and white already, as I mentioned, using the all-in-one syrup preset. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to add a vignette to this. So right now I'm going to go for, let's see, the vignette black. And as you can see, that's added a whole lot of dark contrast around the outside here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my brushes and I'm going to open my Grayscale Essentials brushes. And the first one I'm going to use is just the light brighten brush. And I'm going to use this all over my subjects in the center here, just to really kind of bring light to them, to make them stand out. And then I'm going to go over here and increase the exposure of the brush a little bit. I'm going to hit new, and I'm just going to make the brush smaller and do that one more time. So once I've added light to my subjects here, I'm going to go back to my Grayscale Essentials brushes. And this time I'm going to go for the Grayscale Essentials Light, Darken Shadows. And the first thing I'm going to do is sometimes when you use the darkened shadows, it will come with this kind of yellowish color to it. But because we're working in black and white and I don't want any kind of tones to it, I am going to just move it all the way down so it's just gone. And I'm going to go ahead and use this brush all up in the trees and foliage here on the ground. And I'm going to turn the shadows down. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit new. I'm using the same brush again. The Grayscale Essentials, Darken Shadows, and I'm going to just make my brush kind of small. And I'm going to use it just around them so it doesn't look like they have this weird halo light around them. And turn the exposure down a little bit. Right, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my presets here and I'm going to use a polish preset, sharp as a tack, to just kind of sharpen the photo up a little bit. And then another thing I'm going to do is use an exposure, darken shadows. I'm going to close my brushes out, and just to kind of adjust the shadows that I've darkened here, I'm going to just go in here and just turn it up just a little bit and turn my highlights down just a tiny bit. Alright, so as you can see, what we've done is added a lot of light to the subjects in the middle of the photograph, but we've really kind of darkened the outside edge of the photograph, which has just really added some kind of depth and dimension to it. So here's the before. It was kind of a little flat in that they don't really stand out much from the trees around them. It's almost like they're just really being swallowed. So here's the after. I can show them side by side. Alright, so I have another photograph here and I'm going to show you how to change this photograph to black and white without using one of our all-in-one presets. But after I change it to black and white, I am going to move over here and use some of these presets. So the first thing I'm going to do is, to make this black and white, I'm going to simply open my colors tab right here. I'm going to hit black and white, and automatically it changes it. The next thing I'm going to do is go over to my presets, and for this photograph, what I want to do is I'd like to add a vignette, so I'm going to go for the black vignette. Actually, for this one I'm going to use a white vignette because I want it to be a little bit softer. But this is a little too much of white, so what we're going to do is go down to the Effects tab, and we're going to go to Highlight Priority, and we're just going to move it down just a little bit. The next preset I'm going to add to this photograph is the Polish preset, the Polish preset Fuzz. And that's just because I want to give a kind of softer look to this, just because it's a photograph of a newborn and a small child. So we're trying to go with a softer look. So now I'm going to show you what you can do is, once you've converted to black and white, you're going to open your Colors tab again here, and you have it on black and white. And what you can do is use these sliders to change color within the photograph. So as you can see, what's happening is whatever red was in the photograph before I converted it to black and white, I can now manipulate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up a little bit. And a lot of times I just go back and forth with these to really see if the color's there and where the color's going. So for the orange, I'm going to pull that up as well. And the yellow I'm going to turn down just a little bit. So as you can see, I can slide the green back and forth and nothing really changes. So there isn't really much green in the photograph. Same with the aqua and the blue. Alright, so the only real colors we played with here were the red and the orange and the yellow. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my brushes again. I'm going to go to my Grayscale Essentials brushes, and I did put an overall kind of, I used the Polish Fuzz preset, which gave it a nice hazy look, but I don't really want that out of focus look on her face or on the baby's face. So I'm going to go to my Grayscale Essentials, and I'm going to go to the Sharpen Face brush, and I'm just going to use that all on her face right here. And on the baby as well. Because we kind of want this nice hazy look around her, but not really on her face. Or in her hair for that matter. Alright, and we're going to do what we did with the last photograph. So I'm going to go back into my Grayscale Essentials brushes, and I'm going to go for the Light Brighten. And I'm going to use this brush to just kind of add some light to this little girl in the center, to the baby. Turn the exposure up a little bit. Alright, so I'm going back in my brushes, so I'm going to hit New. I'm going to go to my Grayscale Essentials brushes, and for this one I'm actually going to go to the Brighten Eyes brush. I'm going to scroll in pretty close, and I'm just going to use this on her eyes to just add a little bit of light to them. So I'm going to use one last brush on this photograph. So I'm going to go into my brushes again, the Grayscale Essentials, and I'm going to open the Light Darken. And I'm just going to use this brush in some areas where I just kind of want to darken the shadows, just to add a little bit of contrast to this photograph. So right now I'm using it in her hair. Use it a little bit on the baby's hair. And I use it a little bit in some of the creases that are in this comforter right here. All right. I'm going to do actually one last custom brush here. I'm going to go for the contrast brush. And what I'm going to do with the contrast brush is use it on the lace of her dress, just to kind of bring out a little bit of contrast in the dress. Alright, so that's all I've done to this photograph. So here's the before, which is actually still in color. And as you can see, we've kind of really manipulated the colors because we use the sliders within the black and white here. But this is the after. We've just created a nice kind of soft black and white picture with a nice muted feel, but still has a little bit of light and dark texture to it. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and you'll be able to try it for yourself soon.